Hi there. Welcome back to my Mindful Meanderings. I'm Chrissy and we've made it. This is part 6, our final episode in the series about AI and how it's transforming our world. What a journey it's been. We kicked off by exploring how AI is already woven into our daily lives, then moved through the essential human skills that will always matter. We busted some myths about AI-proof careers, shared real experiences with AI tools, and in our last episode we looked at how people are actually making AI work for them instead of against them. Today it's time to talk about the future. And I don't mean the distant future where there's flying cars and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about what's coming up around the corner and how we can get ready for it. Matt's joining me again and we're going to share some pretty interesting thoughts about where all this is heading. You know those conversations that leave you feeling both excited and a bit nervous about the future? This is going to be one of those. We'll look at some predictions from industry experts, share our own thoughts about what skills might really matter in the next few years, and talk about how staying ahead when everything keeps changing so fast. But don't worry, this isn't all going to be theoretical. We'll wrap up the series with some practical takeaways you can use to prepare yourself for whatever comes next. After all, that's been the whole point of this conversation, helping you understand and adapt to the AI-powered world we're living in. So grab your coffee or tea for one last time and get comfortable, and let's talk about what tomorrow might look like and how we can make sure we're ready for it. Let's dive into the final episode. There are going to still be industries and businesses who will continue to think with the same memory of architecture that they
Memory of
had.
business. For the listeners, can you explain your phrase, memory of architecture, and where that comes from?
When, for example, Greeks move to a different country, it's really prominent when they build their own homes or populate a certain suburb, because the style of architecture comes from the place where those people originated from. So you'll notice many Greek architectural
The nuances of the building
Thank
is appropriate, yeah. And look, you see that anyway. You notice it when you're traveling, particularly if you're going to another country. When you're in China, Chinese architecture is very Chinese. Italian architecture is very Italian. Central American architecture is very Central American with some Spanish influences. But the memory of architecture that you're speaking of, without going into the cultural divergences there, really speaks to what in relation to habit?
The familiarity that's brought through generations. Also in regards to the memory of business. You get these ebbs and flows that come through different memories of business. Today we are in 2024 and we will still see reminiscences of businesses that are adopting influences from the 90s. That's not necessarily a bad thing. However, if they're not embracing the change of AI that is being adopted in this current era, then my concern for those businesses is that they're not really taking full advantage of the opportunities that are available to them. That could be in many shapes and forms. It could be in cost savings.
Oh, obviously, cost savings are a big one. Every keystroke that you don't need to make, that you can replace through efficiencies and improvements, enhances your capacity to be able to grow.
It could be in outsourcing.
Yep.
It could be in just your day-to-day technology. Like, for example, a CRM, which has AI integrations and webhooks. If we are stuck in that old way of thinking, we are not going to move ahead. And so from a business perspective, I really want to encourage those of you who have businesses and have had businesses for many, many years to consider embracing technology. That's not to shunt the little guy or to cut out your employees or anything like that. But the reality is that as a business, we need to consider what is sustainability. And for a lot of people, sustainability is all about environmental this and environmental that, because that's what we hear on the media. Well, I want you to consider the fact that as a business owner, sustainability begins with your finances, because if you do not have the money to continue to run your business, you cannot afford to pay your staff, you cannot afford to pay yourself. And therefore your business is almost dead in the water.
Yeah.
So I want to just leave you with those thoughts, give you something to consider, in that technology is not your enemy. Whether we like it or not, AI is here to stay, and we need to decide how we want to engage with it. For many of us, that might look like playing on our mobile phones and looking at Snapchat, and that's okay if that's the game you want to play at. But if you are bitching about your life circumstances because AI is taking over and I'm not as effective at my job because the computer knows more than I do, that's everybody's reality. How can you use that to your advantage?
We have been listening to Chrissy with Mindful Meanderings. Special guest today was Matt. We'll see you on the next episode.
Well, here we are at the end of our journey together. Over the last 6 episodes, we've covered so much ground. From the first conversation about AI showing up in our everyday lives, right through to imagining what tomorrow might bring. You know what's funny? When I started this series, I had my own ideas about AI and where it was heading. But those conversations with Matt, and honestly, just taking the time to really think about all this stuff, has completely changed my perspective. We've seen how AI isn't just some far off concept anymore. It's here, changing how we work, how we think about our careers, and even how we plan for our future. But maybe the biggest takeaway from all of this is that we're not passive observers in this change. We get to choose how we respond to it, how we use it, and how we adapt alongside it. Remember back in the early episode when we were talking about the supposedly AI-proof jobs, and then how we discovered that maybe instead of trying to be AI-proof, we should focus on being AI enhanced? That's the kind of thinking that is going to matter going forward. Whether you've been with us since episode 1 or you're just catching up now, I hope these conversations have given you some useful insights and maybe even changed how you think about AI in your own life and work. The future isn't about human versus AI. It's about finding the sweet spot where technology makes us better at what we do, while we focus on those uniquely human qualities that no AI can replicate. I want to thank Matt for sharing his insights throughout this series, and a massive thank you to all of you for coming along on this journey with me. Remember, the conversation about AI isn't ending here. In many ways, it's just beginning. This is Christine, and these are my Mindful Meanderings. Signing off from this final episode of our 6-part series. Keep staying curious, keep adapting, and most importantly, keep being uniquely human in this increasingly digital world. Take care.